It's no secret that the Nexus 10 is one of the best 10-inch tablets on the market today. So, if you are the new proud owner of a Nexus 10 tablet, then here are some tips and tricks for you. Hey, it's Joshua Vergara from Android Authority. What's going on, everybody? And here I am to give you 10 again, tips and tricks on the Nexus 10. Alright, let's start off with an oldie but a goodie. Protect your investment. Now let's face it, nobody ever wants their Android device to fall and break. The Nexus 4 might be one of the most fragile devices out on the market right now, but that doesn't mean that the Nexus 10 deserves to have some protection of its own. And this is the Poetic Slimline Portfolio case. It does use a smart cover, so one of the great things about this cover is that when you open it up, it wakes up the screen, so that's really cool. But on the other hand, you have these slits right here that allow you to fold the cover, and when it folds back, you're able to let it stand on there. It's a great multifunction case that not only provides some protection for it, it's also very slim, and it provides a couple different ways for you to view your tablet in easy ways without having to use an extra stand or anything like that. So with a little bit of multifunction, this Poetic case is definitely my choice. There are a ton of different cases out there that you can use, but this is the one that I chose. If you do a lot of typing on your Nexus 10 tablet, this might be a tip that is very useful for you. Invest in a good keyboard. The on-screen keyboard on the Nexus 10 is big enough to make touch typing pretty easy. As compared to the Nexus 4 or the Nexus 7, you're probably going to use the on-screen keyboard in the way that it's supposed to be used, like typing like this, or anything like that. However, right there. However, it is nice that Google has put into the newest Jelly Bean 4.2 version of Android a gesture typing feature that allows you to just swipe around, much like the old keyboard swipe, to make life a little bit easier when you're trying to type. That'll be very useful for this when you're using it on the go. But sometimes we need that tactile feel that a real keyboard gives us, and sometimes we just kind of miss that home key feel to allow us to type perfectly on it. So luckily there are a lot of different options for it, and unlike with other smaller devices, the Nexus 10 is big enough so that a big keyboard like that does do the trick and doesn't look too weird. This is the keyboard that I use. It is the Logitech wireless keyboard that connects to your tablets. It's made specifically for tablets because it connects via Bluetooth. Now, as you can see, it's just big enough to make it so that you can have fast typing, that tactile feel, and it really is easy to use. So it'll give you that great keyboard feel without having to worry about the keyboard that is on your on-screen. So, oops. Speaking of typing, if you text a lot on your Android device, chances are you want to be able to do so from your tablet. Luckily, that is possible because you can text from your tablet. Obviously, one of the things we always do on our Android devices is text. However, that is usually relegated to just the phones. Well, there is a way to get your text synced from the phone over to your tablet. And there are a few apps inside of the Play Store that allow you to do that, but the one that I'm about to show you is the best one primarily because it's free, and it's called Mighty Text. So this is the interface right here. And Mighty Text essentially is an application that you put onto your phone. It takes all of your text messages, syncs them to your Google account, which is then synced up with the application either on the web or on the app that is installed in your tablet. There are also a couple really cool features in Mighty Text, like showing you how much battery is left on your phone. And also, if a call is coming in, it will tell you that a call is coming in so you can run over to your phone and pick it up before the rings go out. Mighty Text is a wonderful application that is free and available for you if you don't want to use your phone because you're already using your tablet, or because you're just too lazy to get up and pick it up if it's blowing up. Now, one of the greatest features of Jelly Bean 4.2, especially if you like to share your tablet, is to make multiple guest profiles. So come and be our guest. Now here's a tip that I covered in a previous 10 Again video, and I still think it's a really good tip to mention inside of a Nexus 10 tips and tricks video like this. It's using a guest profile, or multiple users. As a feature that was added to the newest version of Jelly Bean 4.2, this feature allows you to have multiple people using the same device. Typically, you would probably use it for tablets, so that each and every person has their own space and they can design their user account any which way that they so choose, so that there's some individuality among the users. I already have it set up down here. You have the multiple users right here on the bottom. I have this generic one for this example. And when you click on it at the lock screen, it'll change the wallpaper to show you that it is going to be using that other user account. And then once you get past the lock screen, as you can see here, I kept it as stock as possible. I didn't change anything to illustrate that when that new user is created, they have a completely clean slate. They can change the user account any which way that they want. So that adds a lot of individuality for each user, each person. This is something that would be very useful for, let's say, couples who have invested in a Nexus 10 for each other, or for small families so that children can have their own spaces as well. Everything is kept separate. So even if you're inside of the one of the users, you can just head over to the notification dropdown where the settings are, click on the user right there, and then it'll go back to the lock screen, and you could just easily switch between the two. As you can see, I'm back into mine. So that is setting up guest profiles, and it's a great way of differentiating between different users and adding some individuality for each person that might happen to use your lovely Nexus 10. The Nexus 10 may not be a complete replacement of your laptop or desktop computer, but you should still be able to get a lot of work done as long as you get an Office suite. Alright, so if you already have a wireless Bluetooth keyboard, then chances are you are looking to get some work done. Now, there are a lot of different Office suites available in the Play Store, and we're going to take a look at a couple of them right now. Let's just put in Office. And what you'll see are a bunch of different kinds, and there are a ton of them. One that you're probably going to be looking at is Kingsoft Office. Kingsoft Office is the one that is available for completely free. It's almost like OpenOffice in that way. That being said, however, I have to say that the one that I choose is Drive. Drive, in all essence, is actually Google Docs, except a little while ago, Google decided to put Google Docs and merge it with their Drive application, which is their cloud storage. It actually works really well. It's one of my favorite things to use because it is really, really responsive, even though it is pretty much the simplest of all of them. I don't need a whole lot from my Office suite. All I need to do is pretty much write up all of the articles, like, for example, the one that you're probably going to read based on this 10 again, or any other reviews that I happen to be doing. So you just hit New, you get a spreadsheet or a document. You don't necessarily make any presentations on here. That functionality is not available. It's just spreadsheets and documents. Hit Document, name it, and then after that, it'll just give you a blank slate in order to type to your heart's content. And it's the Office suite that I decided to use because it's very simplistic, does just what I need and nothing more, because I don't need much more. Sure, the Nexus 10 is great for viewing movies, playing games, but if you want to get a little bit more productivity done, maybe you should catch up on some literature. The Nexus 10 is a great device for reading. Now, I did say that the Nexus 7 is of a smaller form factor. It looks more like a book, so that it might feel better to read on there, but that doesn't mean the Nexus 10 is not able of doing that either. And it doesn't even have to just be literature. You can have multiple ways of reading. I have Reddit there, and then also Greader for all of my RSS feeds and news. But then if we're talking about literature, you have the Kindle app right here. If you happen to be a Kindle reader, if you had a Kindle in the past, you can probably just put it aside because you can get all your reading done on the Nexus 10 tablet. So in this example, I'll just be using Sherlock Holmes. So as you can see here, the text is very legible. The resolution of the Nexus 10 screen makes for some pretty sharp text. The PPI is quite high on there. So reading on here is really, really easy. You should be able to get a lot of it done. So I really encourage people to use their Nexus 10 for reading because it's a great way of getting it done. Well, you know what they say, all work and no play, but just remember, it's okay to daydream. Now, this is actually one of my favorite tips for the Nexus 10 or any Android device that's running the newest version of Jelly Bean 4.2. The reason why is because in Jelly Bean 4.2, it was given a new feature called Daydream that allows it to become a bit of like a bedside clock, or there are a few other ways of using it when you have it plugged in or in a dock. It brings out a little bit more usage from your Android device when you're not using it and it's just on the side and it's charging. So I'm just connecting the charger over here. Over at the Daydream, after 15 seconds of it being plugged in, it should go into a daydream state, and that looks like this. So it's just a bedside clock that you can use, but there are photo frames. There's even the bean flinger Easter egg that you can use on the side. So in this case, for me, I put the Nexus 10 on my bedside table or desk, as you can see here, and it is basically used as a clock. So you're able to get more usage out of your Android device even when you're not using it and it's just charging on the side, which I think is a great feature. If you do a lot of gaming, this one is just for you. Take control of your games. It's about time I brought up a gaming tip. Tablets like the Nexus 10 with its 10-inch form factor, the great Mali T604 graphics in there, along with the powerful dual-core Exynos processor, all of that together, along with the great resolution of the screen, make this a wonderful platform for gaming, and you should totally take advantage of it. Now, one of the only things that might be a little bit weird about playing a game like, especially Grand Theft Auto, on a device like this is that you're using the touch controls. Now, for the most part, they work quite well. Not everybody, and it's not everybody's cup of tea, however. So for running around or trying to get some stuff done in Grand Theft Auto, it might not necessarily be ideal. And the great thing is that you don't need to buy an Android gamepad in order to make this work. You can use ones that you might already have in your house. In my case, it is the PlayStation 3 6-axis controller. But you do have to invest in one of the apps in the Play Store in order to make this happen. And if you want to really take advantage of the features of this app, you might need to have your tablet rooted. But trust me, there are ways of doing it without all of that. It will require this $2, and trust me, if you're a big gamer, $2 is really not a whole lot to ask for when you're going to be enhancing your gaming experience. But also, it requires the usage of this. This is an OTG or on-the-go cable that is used to expand the usage of your micro USB port on the Nexus 10 or any other Android device. And the way that you know it's connected is when you press the PlayStation button on the controller, and that shows up on the top left. So that's how you know. And we can even use it to navigate around, get around. It's really nice. So how does that translate into Grand Theft Auto Vice City? Well, there you go. I have read that it is available for Xbox controllers. There's a way of getting that done the same way. But in this case, the 6-axis controller is the one that I use, PlayStation all the way. Here's another oldie but a goodie. Let's expand your horizons. That previous tip about using a gaming controller on the Nexus 10 might have taught you something new about the trusty OTG cable. However, this is a good time to remind you of what one of its main functions is, and that is expanding the memory of the Nexus 10. The Nexus 10 doesn't necessarily come with expandable memory, but with an OTG cable, you can unlock that feature. Basically, what you're going to do is take any USB stick that you already have and just connect it to here. So what you would do is connect this to the micro USB, as you probably know by now. And you are going to need an app, and you're going to see it come up right now. It is the Nexus Media Importer. What the Nexus Media Importer does is it connects to the USB device and is able to get all of the data or just read it straight from the USB stick. However, there's one thing that you do have to know. If you want full read and write access to the USB stick, then you're going to have to root your Nexus 10 in order to get that with the Nexus Media Importer. I'm a streaming service guy myself, Netflix and Spotify, but if, let's say, I'm going on a long trip, I do like to put some episodes of my favorite shows onto a USB stick like this, put it into the Nexus Media Importer, and it's an easy way for me to watch whatever I want without needing an internet connection. It's time to get even more fun out of your Nexus 10 when you expand your display. Chances are you're not too familiar with the port that's found on the other side of the micro USB port on the Nexus 10. Well, this is one way to get a lot of usage out of it. It's a micro HDMI port, and as you can see here, I'm using an adapter on an existing HDMI cord that I already have in order to make it fit into the slot on that side of the Nexus 10. The micro HDMI port allows for the display of the Nexus 10 to be mirrored onto any device that the other side is plugged into. In this case, it's a big screen TV. Put together with all of the different tips that I've already given you in this edition of 10 Again, being able to use your Nexus 10 for reading, for viewing, any type of media, for gaming even, this is a great tip because it allows you to not only extend the capabilities of your Nexus 10 to a TV or to a projector, but it just makes the whole experience even that much more enjoyable. And that's why I think that is a great way to round out this version of 10 Again. So if you have any tips or tricks that you think should have been on this list, let us know in the comments below or in the comments of the written article that is found on AndroidAuthority.com. So for the last time, this is Joshua Vergara. Thank you very much for watching this edition of 10 Again. And remember to go to AndroidAuthority.com and to subscribe to the AndroidAuthority.com YouTube channel because it is your source for all things Android.